I cannot believe this, as we have multiple Leafs updates to go over today, as Craig Berube has made a plethora of moves surrounding the top line, as well as some other moves that has Leafs fans confused and fired up. We're going to break that down, discuss what it means going forward for this team as they prepare for a huge game tonight against the Dallas Stars. But before we get into all that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel. This is the place to be for daily Leafs content. So thank you guys for your continued support, and reminder, we will be live following tonight's huge game against the Dallas Stars. So make sure to tune into that stream. Your guys' support has been unbelievable on those. But Darius, a lot of things are going on today. The Leafs obviously have a huge game tonight. We know that Anthony Stolarz is out for the foreseeable future, which means Joseph Woll is going to have to play really well over the next month or month and a half to 2 months. And some moves have been made by Craig Berube. He's made a lot of changes, and it's not the change that I thought. Before we get into that, we'll focus on this. Jake Ottinger versus Joseph Woll. Those are the two goalies tonight in Dallas. Two, of course, young American goalies. So it's going to be a very good battle tonight. Ottinger spoke out on it. He said he's a stud. You can ask anyone in our locker room. Last year in the playoffs, I was saying I think that will be his net very soon. So some really high praise from Jake Ottinger here. And we'll dive back into that in a minute. But I want to dive right into it, Darius. There's a lot to go over. Now, we saw at practice yesterday the lines of Nylander, Matthews, Marner, Nyes, Tavares, Pacioretty, and then McMahon, Domi, Robertson, Lorentz, Camp, and Reeves. And those are the projected lines for tonight against the Dallas Stars. However, Philip Myers is going to be scratched, which we'll get into here. But Darius, let's talk about the elephant in the room here. It's Nylander, Matthews, and Marner. We briefly discussed it yesterday. It seems like the line that's going to be out there tonight. And Berube makes all the changes in the world, but not the one that I was hoping he'd make, specifically separating Matthews and Marner. Now you have a very top-heavy first line.
Yeah, not just not separating Matthews and Marner, but adding Nylander to that top line, a very heavy top line. And one thing I kind of like about Craig Berube that I'm learning very early in the season is, it's very different from obviously in coaching styles and style of play from Sheldon Keefe, but he's not afraid to continue to try things. They're winning. There's a lot of guys in and out of the door because of injury so far this season, and he just continues to try things. If something works, he'll give it a little bit of a shot and he'll just pour some gasoline on the fire and see, can this work? Let's see what we have before we make the playoffs, because the core group of this team has been the same for years. So why not try different combinations and anything like that? So I have been liking that from Craig Berube, I have to say. And a lot of people don't like this, but I'm willing to give this lineup a shot. I mentioned it in a video yesterday. I think that Craig Berube really likes each line to have a role. He likes a toolbox, right? And when you look at that lineup, up and down the lineup, it gives you something different. And I think that it really mirrored what he had in St. Louis. And that's kind of what he's been trying to figure out so far with the Leafs. And it's only December. I think he's going to eventually figure it out and have his set lines heading into the playoffs. But, the top line is skill. Second line is heavy. Third line is giving you energy. And the fourth line, obviously, is just kind of there. But, checking and forechecking and stuff like that. But I think it's very interesting. He's creating a toolbox for himself. So I'm very interested to see how this lineup does, because they're playing Dallas tonight. Notoriously, they've been pretty good against Dallas. Dallas is a very good team. So I am interested to see how this lineup fares. And Joseph Woll is a big storyline too. He's probably going to play tonight. He's probably going to play Friday. We know he can play well, but can he play well consistently? So that's going to be another storyline too.
Yeah, and you see Nylander, Matthews, Marner. It's going to be a very interesting game for a few different reasons. Like you mentioned, the top line is different, which and obviously makes the second line different because Matthew Knies moves down there. You're also seeing the return of David Kampf tonight with Connor Dewar getting scratched. So curious to see how David Kampf ends up playing. I'm not a huge fan of scratching Connor Dewar. I thought he's been very solid this season, but maybe giving him some rest. Again, he was coming off of an injury. So it's there's a lot of different moving parts here. But yeah, I'm with you in the sense of I'm open to it. And I think they still should split up Matthews and Marner. We've seen objectively that the team has been worse offensively when at least Marner specifically has been less aggressive. There's a lot of different things. He's deferring to Matthews a lot. And maybe having Nylander there will help some of that, maybe take some of the pressure off, Matthews and Marner. But ultimately it's a more top heavy lineup, but I'm not super against it per se, even though it's an intriguing thing. And also one thing to note, I want to get your thoughts on here. So Philip Myers is also, as of 10 minutes ago, seeming all signs are pointing to him getting scratched and Benoit coming back into the game. And I think the defensive pairings have been very good as of late. We've seen Connor Timmins play very well, and we've seen, obviously you can see here, OEL and Timmins playing together. We've seen flashes of that, especially late in the third period when they're trying to get some offense going. Berube has been putting OEL and Connor Timmins together to try to scrape in a goal, especially when they're down a goal before the empty net. It's intriguing. I'm loving the defensive pairs, but it seems like Myers is getting scratched. And again, I don't hate that. I think Myers has been okay. However, I think Benoit is the better and more experienced player at this point.
Yeah, Myers came in. Again, a lot of the roster decisions going into Sunday, I think, were because of the back-to-back and getting some rest in. Although Timmins didn't have a great game on Saturday, so there could be something to that as well. But he's going to factor back in here. I thought he's been, for the whole season overall, he's been pretty good, like surprising me, honestly, because we knew that, he had this in him, but he was always scratched or injured. So coming into this season, I didn't really know exactly what we had in him, and he's been really good. So he'll factor back into the lineup. Myers, to me, has two modes: scrambling on defense and taking a shot from the point. So he's been a good filler player, but he's going to come back out of the lineup. And I'm glad to see Benoit come back as well after not practicing there yesterday. So that's a good sign as well. And I think Benoit, since that one game, since he was scratched, he's really turned it on this season. He was very lackluster to start the year, but ever since he was scratched, the message had been sent by Craig Berube, and he's been really good since. So I'm excited to see what that bottom pairing can do in terms of bouncing back in this game. And it's going to be tough tonight. Dallas is a very good team.
Yeah, very good team. And hopefully it's an interesting game for them to actually make all of these changes. It's not like it's against an easier team. We say easier, even though they almost lost 2 in a row against some lackluster teams. But yeah, going back quickly here, Ottinger did speak on a wall saying he's a stud, like I mentioned. I think it's going to be huge for Joseph Wall the next coming month and a half. We've been discussing it a little bit here. And we know the Leafs against really good teams have been very good. Of almost an 81 win percentage against teams that are top contenders. They've struggled a little bit more against teams that are in the bottom half, which is something we also saw during the Sheldon Keefe era, which is interesting. Again, Stolarz is out, and Allison Matthews spoke out and had some interesting things to say about the injury. He said, I think it's pretty high. This is, of course, on Anthony Stolarz' injury. Joe has been great for us, and when he says it's pretty high, he's talking about the confidence of the team in lieu of Anthony Stolarz being injured. And the Beast has been solid when he's been up and had to play. I think we have a lot of confidence in our goalies. Obviously, we hope the best for Stoli. He's been great for us all year, but whether it's forwards or defense, guys get injured and others have to step up. And that's kind of, you obviously want to see. It's a great quote by the leader that Austin Matthews is, and by all accounts, he is a great leader. Captain, obviously, this season. As of this season, sorry. And there's now, he has all the confidence in the world. And I think this is kind of the sentiment of most Leafs fans at this point, because they've been dealing with injuries the whole year, and they have to, because that's what happens in hockey. But especially this season for the Leafs, they just have to play next man up. And luckily, we've been talking about so much about how they have the best goaltending tandem in the NHL. Now it's time to show the benefit of that. When we've been talking about hopefully no injuries happen, it did happen. And now they have the chance, Joseph Wall it is, and Dennis Hill to be, from that matter, to really prove.
That's why they went out and got, Anthony Stolarz for this reason. They know what they had in Joseph Wall, but they said, I don't know if he can play every game or he can be a starter and take on that workload. And that's why they went out and got Anthony Stolarz. So now the real test begins for Joseph Wall this season. He's going to play a lot more over the next 4 6 weeks, whatever it is, until Anthony Stolarz comes back. Hopefully it's 4 weeks or less than that. But he's going to have a tough workload here, and I want to see what he can do. It's a great opportunity from him, and it's a great quote from the captain too. Not just praising Joseph Wall because he has been good, and both goaltenders have been fantastic, but also Dennis Hill to be just give him a little bit of confidence, right? Let's see what you can do. We know your abilities. We know you can be good. Let's get back to playing that way. And I think Dennis Hill to be will be okay because the potential's there. We saw it last year. He just hasn't shown it so far this year. So if he can get his confidence up, and he played pretty good in the second half of that game against Buffalo, I think the Leafs will be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Huge game tonight. And again, we'll be live following the game. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts on what you think of that new top line. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you later.